There's another chart. Can I have a look at that? Will we have attendance code? I think we've dealt with that, yeah. Good. So the first lecture is going to be on socio-legal inquiry into the occultic, psychotic, and fraudulent personality of corporations. Just to make sure that the recording is going on, let me be sure. I think it is. Now we'll take it from there. Yeah, and then the other thing I might want to do is to share screen with you. Share screen. That's the case. Can I get some verbal confirmation that you are seeing my screen?
Yes, I can see it.
Yes, we can see it.
Yes.
Fantastic. So the first topic, as scheduled in your course outline, is socio-legal inquiry into the occultic, psychotic, and fraudulent personality of corporations. Shock and horror, I think you must be saying. Have I signed up to a course in the occultic sciences or in sociology and so on and so forth? Perhaps you have. It's a legal take on sociological and socio-legal aspects of international business transactions. The course teaches you international business transactions, but it teaches you that topic from a more rounded, more holistic view. And what do I mean by that? It means this module, as with many other modules I'm sure you have found out in the Kent Law School, is socio-legal in nature. What do we mean by socio-legal? It's socio-legal because we take the view that law is not something to be studied in isolation. Legal questions are questions that are best answered with reference to all disciplines. So the socio-legal area of study treats legal questions by accepting the law as it is, but drawing upon influences from other disciplines, psychology, sociology, history, biology, sciences, wherever the answers come from, will help us enrich our understanding of the law. Hence, you should not be surprised that the issue of international business transactions can be looked at from a sociological perspective, from a psychological perspective, and so on and so forth. And the reason for that approach is quite clear. The problems we face in international relations today, the problems we face in international law, the problems we face in international business law, cannot be answered from the simple response that that is what the law says. Of course, that's what the law says, but the law is being developed every day. That's why we have parliaments. That's why we have legislative bodies in all countries, because laws are still being made. They are being reviewed because they either have been bad in the past or there's a new mischief to resolve. So the question is, who is directing the direction of law? Who is influencing the legislature? Who is influencing the parliament? What roles do other disciplines have in understanding why laws are made the way they are made presently? And what roles do other disciplines have in explaining how laws have been made in the past? And the answer to that simply is that law has always been a dictate of the privileged and the powerful. Law has always been hostage to power. And you cannot explain power. You cannot explain the current situation of law without delving into the nature of power relations and without delving into other disciplinary issues. Hence, the idea that we have international business transactions being conducted by companies, being conducted by businesses, being conducted across all nations in such a way that we can talk about an international business law is only because you can only take that idea seriously if you agree that there are other influences on the law. Bringing that home to us, because that's one of the things I will tell you later on about the course. It's international, it's comparative, but we situate our understanding within English law, or what you may know as UK law, if you can say such a thing, it does exist. What that all means is that we have to question where UK law derives its history, just as much as we have to question where the laws in other countries across the world, which now form what we know as international business law, where they get their legitimacy from, where they get their input from, where they get their happenings from. Thus, we have to question whether the unfairness that we observe in international business law today comes from other disciplinary explanations. And if I want to jumpstart your understanding of international business transaction law, yes, then I would just make some certain value judgments, and I'll explain them right now. Those value judgments are, and please note this, that's the perspective of this module, that's the perspective of this person sitting in front of you, that international laws are unfair, that international business transactions law is an aspect of the unfairness of the general international laws that are unfair, that international laws are dictated by the powerful, by the privileged in society, by the elite systems in individual societies and in the international society. Hence, the psychotic nature that we can see in international business can only be explained by the fact that this psychotic dictatorial elite systems have captured the agenda. I might need to go back a bit to explain that. Maybe I should start by saying that nearly every principle of law that you will find in your study of law, certainly in this module, nearly every case law that you find in books are infringed upon, influenced by the positions of power. And that takes us to the question of what is a company? Most countries in the world will insist that you have to be registered before you can conduct business. And the idea of the corporate personality in the common law world, which is a massive area of jurisdictions beyond the UK, and that's the one that operates in Canada, the better part of the United States, New Zealand, Ghana, Nigeria. You know, the Commonwealth countries mostly are common law countries. So this is a massive, vast area of mankind. The very principle of who can be a company is dictated by the understanding in a particular case called Salomon and Salomon. Salomon and Salomon explains the principle of corporate personality of companies. And it goes to the very root of this discussion we're having. Is the law dictated by power? And what are the interests that the powerful persons, groups, elite systems have over the very ingredients that we use to order international business? And the answer simply is that yes, the concept of corporate personality, you have to read that, and I'm sure for many of you who are not in your first term or first year, you would have heard of the Salomon and Salomon case. If you haven't, please take time to read it. Lectures are by their very nature just snapshots of the whole picture of what you need to know. So there's a lot of individual reading you have to do to bring yourselves up to speed. So the principle of corporate personality is found in the locus classicus case of Salomon and Salomon. And that case simply is significant in its submission that the company is a separate legal personality from the owners, the shareholders. Even if there's just one shareholder in the company is separate from that person. What that means is that the person who is a single shareholder in many countries, it's an international business transaction cost. So please don't hold me down to just one country. In many countries, it's not possible to have just one shareholder. You must have at least two. But in some countries, it's possible to have one. And in a situation, or in some situations, shareholdership can fall down to one. Even if there's just one shareholder, that shareholder is separate from the company. What that means is that that shareholder can be a creditor of the company. What that means is that that shareholder can throw his hands up and say, I don't owe you. The company owes you. And you have to separate that person from the shareholding structure. We didn't just arrive there by chance. We arrived there, I assert, because of the progression of neoliberal principles and the need to free capitalism, to make capitalism stand up to its, in quotes, true potentials of exponential growth, whereby companies are allowed to sink and have maximum success based on synergies, based on risk-taking, based on profits. And individuals are shielded from that, from the negative effects of such a position. So Salomon and Salomon, groundbreaking, just as many other principles of international contract law, principles of law, I should say, in explaining where we are today in international legal ordering of business. Again, just in case you have forgotten what I said, if you have any questions, if you think I am saying wrong things, please feel free to just interject and explain yourself. You don't have to wait till the end. That's the nature of, I try to adopt a Socratic method of teaching. And what that means is that even if you keep quiet, I will be asking questions and I will expect you to be kind enough to give some answers, to risk your voice being heard. So let me go on. Companies are separate from their individuals. Therefore, companies can take risks. Companies can be hijacked. Companies can be made to do things that are beyond the law. And the person of a company and the person of its leadership, the directing minds, as we want to call them, those who are the CEOs, the secretary to the company, and the directors of the company, nominal or substantive, are separate from the company, but they share responsibilities as well at certain points. Therefore, companies today, in most developed countries, in most advanced jurisdictions, can buy property, can sell property, can be sued and be sued, can commit crimes, and are regularly punished for committing crimes, and we will get to that as the lecture goes on. Companies can hold and behold. Indeed, we have arrived at an interesting part of life, of international life, where companies also have human rights. And again, that depends on which country you are in and where they are on the scale of traveling the neoliberal principles. If you are in the US, for instance, you will be more comfortable with the idea that companies now have the right to speech. So it's not just individuals that have the right to speech, but there is case law in the US that backs that the right that companies have the right to speech. So companies have gradually become human beings. Companies are members of society, the national state. Companies are members of the international society. Companies even conduct human rights. Sorry, I've said that before. Companies conduct international relations. Companies conduct diplomacy. Where do we get that from? And why is that necessary? It is necessary because those are the tools of the internationalization of international trade. And it's not a new thing. It precedes Solomon and Solomon. In case some of you are not aware, you will be reminded several times in the course of this particular module. Companies used to own countries. The United African Company was a company registered in the United Kingdom, and it owned the better part of West Africa at a point. Southeast Asia was first of all colonized through companies. So let's not pretend this is a new thing. Companies have always been too powerful, if you may permit me to take that view. Companies have always been a member of international society. Companies outlive our natural lives. So when I say companies like the UAC, United African Company, and the equivalent that took care of India and that area of the world, those companies still exist till today. They may not be called UAC again. They may have changed their names. They may, through various means of mergers and acquisitions and takeovers, things we will be dealing with as the course goes on. They may all have new names, but essentially they are continuations of the companies that used to own human beings, used to own human populations, used to own slaves. Is that a question? I hear someone's, no. So companies are separate from persons. Companies have personalities, and their personalities need to be questioned. If we start getting closer to our aim of proving that companies can be psychotic, that companies are essentially dangerous, and companies need to be watched out for. Companies have personalities. I know every one of you sitting there now has a list of companies in their head where they would like to work for. So did I. I had the highest ambitions as well. I still have high ambitions. My high ambitions have taken me as far as the University of Kent. I like it there. So I wouldn't begrudge you if you want to work for multinational companies, if you want to if you want to rise in the corporate structure and work for Microsoft, for instance. And the list is endless. It always depends on which country you are in. But the big multinationals, I think a lot of us have knowledge of, and their visibility is quite clear, include Microsoft, Gap. I'm sure some of us are wearing Gap, designer wears as we speak, or we'll have in our wardrobes at least. We have oil companies, Chevron, we have Elf, we have Shell, ExxonMobil, HSBC, my private bankers, love them and hate them at the same time. It will be nice to work for. General Electric, these are strong brands. These are internationally known brands. Some of them do really good things. I mean, I mentioned earlier on that they conduct international relations. Yes. What do you call it? Microsoft, for instance, is in a partnership as we speak with the African Development Bank to train Nigerian youths, African youths on Microsoft's, you know, the great wonders of computer technology. They do wonderful things. They are quite known. They are quite good. Kodak, and so on and so forth. But they have an evil side. And that evil side will be talked about in this lecture and will, to some extent, dominate a lot of what we'll be doing in this module, while at the same time teaching you the rudimentary things about international business transactions, how acceptance works, contracts, how franchising is done, how things like agencies abroad are organized, counter trade. We'll talk about all those things, but we will at all points in time be looking at them from a critical perspective. And I think the best place to start on this journey really is to consider how companies exist. What's wrong with companies? What's wrong with international business, you know, corporate structures? And I think that a lot of what is wrong is the fact that the human being has infected what it created. Human beings can be psychotic. Human beings can be sociopaths. Human beings can be dangerous. Human beings are criminal. So why would you be surprised that some of the things they create can be criminal? And borrowing from psychology, borrowing from sociology, borrowing from research in this area, it's been shown that one of the things that make people rise in corporations is that very ability to take sociopathic, if not psychopathic decisions, and having that evil energy. So you will find, and if you take the time, and I will urge you to take the time, follow some of the literature, follow some of the links that I have in this module, follow the reading generally, you will find that from a sociological point of view, from a psychological point of view, from popular literature as well, from journalistic sources, there is a bit of an understanding that people with psychopathic tendencies tend to do well in business. They tend to rise to the top of corporations. They tend to succeed. And if you have 4 or 5 of them in a company, it doesn't take long for that company to take a wrong turn in terms of its central decision-making or decision-making in relation to certain important disputes or issues, I should say. Let's take a look at this thing I have in front of you. I hope you're seeing it. That's the link. I don't know if it will work, but we will try it. We'll try it. If it doesn't work now, give it a few days, go back, click on the link, see if it works. Because the first time I did it, I promise you it worked for me. And I was quite pleased with the result because it confirmed that I will never be the head of a multinational. Not because all heads of multinationals are psychopathic, that's not what I'm saying, but a fair number of them, a fair percentage of them, yet to be determined, maybe even high percentage of them, should not be given the powers that they have to organize business at the scale they are doing it, because there's just something wrong about them. I'll try to open the link. Let's see if it works. Let's see if it works for you, but do it later on your own. Let's see. Open hyperlink. Okay. Browse YouTube, yeah. Yeah, what has that got to do with this? That's not what I wanted to show. Back to this. Yeah, so now try it again. Well, it's not working. I don't know why. Maybe my thing. Yeah, let me give it one more attempt by copying the link instead. I checked it yesterday and it worked. So this is just bang out of order. Paste. Yeah. So concentrate on it. Let's give it a go. Okay. I will take what? Shut up. I'll wait for one or two of you to give me feedback on what you felt about that. Did anyone see what they said you would see? Please feel free to talk.
Yeah, that was a good video.
Sorry? Again?
That was a good video.
It was a good video, but did you see the hammer at the end?
Yeah.
Thanks for that. Any other person?
I chose the color blue, so
Go on.
apparently I'm a sociopath.
Sorry?
I chose the color blue.
You chose the color
So
blue. But did
so
you
it
see the
says
hammer?
I'm a sociopath. Yeah, I saw the red hammer,
Well,
but I
then you are
didn't think
not a
of a red
sociopath.
hammer.
No, then you are
Okay,
not
it's
a
the
sociopath.
other way around.
It's the other way
Okay.
around, yeah.
Good.
The first time I saw it, it's still a mystery for me because I don't believe in spiritual things and I don't believe in things I can't explain. This one floored me because for some inexplicable reason, I did see the red tool. Don't bother, don't worry yourself if you saw nothing, but I'm quite happy to get some feedback that others saw something too. Well, they say that it says we are not psychopaths. I'm not surprised. Nobody would describe me as a psychopath. I wouldn't describe myself as a psychopath, at least I hope. But the whole purpose of doing this is to draw attention to the fact that a lot of people who are in leadership positions in most international organizations, countries, nearly have a view that at least 80% of presidents in countries are psychopaths. That shouldn't be too difficult to understand. In many countries that still have the death sentence, the president or the governor has to sign the thing they signed before the capital punishment is carried out. Obama had to sign off before 9 a.m. immediately after his basketball practice, the order to go and kill people across the world with drones. You don't do such things. And you are a nice person, I'm sorry. Yeah, I mean, you don't sign off people's death sentences and drone attacks and attacks on countries and counterattacks. If you are the kind of person who is a nice, you're not a Sunday school teacher material. And the problem with this is that we are having situations whereby companies are wreaking havoc across the world. We have a situation whereby these companies that we want to work for, Microsoft, Gap, Shell, Chevron, and the others, they are wreaking havoc, as I said, across the world. They are criminal in nature. Yet, for some reasons, when we are thinking of criminality, we don't remember them as criminals. We don't remember them as negative forces. We remember them in positive ways. So it takes awkward lecturers like me to remind you that some of these organizations are psychopathic. They are terrible in nature. Look at Microsoft. Every 5 years or so, Microsoft is in trouble. I just checked today and I have added one here. 2019, Microsoft to pay criminal fines to settle US anti-bribery charges. Microsoft has been bribing in Hungary, the country Hungary, and a few other countries, not just in one place. Microsoft before then was trying to rip all of us off by creating an international monopoly. There's a reason why Bill Gates was the richest man in the world. Monopolization. That's something that every economics course will teach you is wrong. Every legal system has an office of fair trading like we have, or its equivalent. Yet, companies run rings around us and get their dark side not only done, but done repeatedly in such a way that you and I mean, if you have a disorderly conduct conviction, if you had a fight at a pub, you will not be able to get a job at the University of Kent because you would have to declare it, and it's a competitive exercise. I have a conviction I fought in a pub, I broke someone's head, and there are 5 other applications that don't have a conviction. Why would you be picked? That's you and me. But Microsoft keeps getting into trouble. It's not just about Microsoft. Let's go to Gap. Gap, nice name, nice brand, but exploits children labor. Repeatedly, Gap enters into arrangements with other companies in other countries where systematic abuse of labor relations is done, where people are made to work in factory conditions that are dangerous and lead to loss of lives. Gap does not die. Microsoft does not die. Shell, been there forever. Shell BP. Shell always, they do these mergers and acquisitions, and they show up in many places in different ways. But Shell is a massive destroyer of our environment. Shell is a systematic briber across the nation, across the world. Shell bribes the heads of countries to get oil licenses at a giveaway price, pay the entire fees of that licensing into the private accounts of private individuals, and gets away with it. And is still there, standing tomorrow. Shell has been known to organize death squads. Shell has been known to lead and organize the orchestration of the judicial murder of the so-called Ogoni 7. Pictures of them here. Killed by corporate actions. Shell has been known to fund armies, presumably to secure its facilities around the world. Shell has been known to destroy the environment in Africa, delaying the duty to have environmental standards to capture gas. And I hope you're following me. I know you guys are, I mean, sometimes I forget that you are younger, and so permit me. I have to speak above your head. If I don't speak above your head, you wouldn't stretch out. So I want you to stretch out. Please try and follow. Shell has been delaying the obligation to capture gas in some countries. Instead of flaring gas, as you can see here, gas flaring going on, you capture the oil and then you just let the gas waste. That's what they've been doing for decades. In countries like Nigeria, where the law has said, as soon as possible, since you are the senior partner in this arrangement, in this joint venture between the government and your company to exploit light oil for the next 30 years, or the next 90 years, God knows all kinds of things they've worked out. Please capture the gas rather than flare it, because flaring gas will destroy the environment. Shell will say, okay, yes, we've got you. They just send a few packets of bribes down the right channels. And then from one decade to the other, gas is not captured. Now we are at a situation where the so-called Russia and Ukraine war is going on. And now gas is needed from other sources than from sources from Europe. Now Shell is interested. European companies are now interested in capturing African gas. That's psychopathic. That's psychopathic. African gas being flared over the 30 years or past 40 years is bad for the environment. It could have been prevented. We shouldn't wait for the opportunistic period when Europe needs more gas to run to Africa and start looking for other solutions. It's not about Shell alone. I'm spreading this analysis as wide as I can. ExxonMobil, massive environmental disaster caused by corporate carelessness. Read more about this. Follow the links. HSBC, massive briber across the world, as I said. If you want to entertain yourself, every year, just type in HSBC corporate crime into your Google browser. They will do something. How do they manage to get away with this and still be in business? How do they manage to be assisting mafias across the world? Mexican mafia, Italian mafia, God knows mafia from all, and they're still in business and they're doing very well, and their headquarters is still in London. And so on and so forth. From environmental damage to corruption to assassination of leaders. That's something we'll be getting to when you watch, and I do hope you spend some time in watching my videos that I recommend, such as that by John Perkins, The Confessions of an Economic Hitman. Companies sponsor corporate takeover of countries. They sponsor political takeover of companies, of countries across the world. Companies bribe, companies kill leaders, companies kill people. So when you say psychopath, what are the things that you look for in the definition of a psychopath? You are looking for someone who is callous, who has an unconcern for the effects of his actions on other human beings. You are looking for an incapacity to maintain enduring relations. Like I said, Shell has been doing all kinds of massive destruction in Nigeria. And then very recently, in the last 3 years, they've just decided, okay, we're not doing anything in Nigeria again. We're selling, and we're off to kill people elsewhere, to do more damage elsewhere. reckless disregard for the safety of others, Bhopal disaster, disasters across the world by companies, deceitfulness, incapacity to experience guilt. That's what psychology teaches us about the definition of a psychopath. And I have no problems in concluding that many of the companies that I see in international life are psychopathic, sociopathic, dangerous. I'll leave you with some of the delightful names we can call them. And the reason for this is quite clear. The law allows them to do so. Like I said, the law says that if someone has had a criminal conviction, it should be kept on record. In many countries forever, in some countries for a period of time. The purpose for that is so that everyone is aware and everyone is not subject to that possibility that that person freely does harm and evil again. Why does that not apply to companies, international companies? It may apply to you, it may apply to Okabasi of Kent, where they sell 4 or 5 pizzas per hour, and they are very, very nice Okabasi, what do you call it, doner kebab. Yeah, but when it comes to the big boys, they get away with it. And they get away with it, I think, because the law allows them to do so. And there's nothing that really, there are laws, but their application is certainly not enough to have saved us from all the damage we've seen in the endless pursuit for profits across the world, and so on and so forth. Before I continue, and I know there's not that much time, can I have your views or questions? Does anybody have any question? There's a chat message. Let me see that here. Could it be possible that the mainstream media and the work of branding experts combine to obscure these incidents from the public view? Correct. It does. But worse than that, there is a conspiracy of silence by the elite systems. There are elite systems in all countries. There are elite systems internationally. And I made reference to a few of them down the line, and I'm sure I will get there. It is what this gentleman, Samuel Buell, refers to in saying that in many cases, criminality within large corporations involves senior management. There is the move to make them bear responsibility for this. But there is also a reality that there is a failure to police effectively these companies and police effectively within the companies. And that failure to do so is not per chance. If you want to understand why it's not per chance, you refuse to pay your phone bills until the company reports you to the credit system, and watch how your ability to get a mortgage will evaporate like a scientific fact. So how come then that corporations acquire all these convictions? And I want to show a few more. Look at this slide I have here of penalties paid by companies in between 2007 and 2012 alone, in relation to just one country. There are hundreds of fines being paid in America alone, generally, by companies across the world. But I'm picking here fines relating to corruption in one country alone, and that country being Nigeria. Baker Hughes, 44 million, ABB, Vedco Gray, 16 million, KBR, 579 million, penalties paid, fines paid, Wilbros, Siemens, 800 million in fines. They pay those fines because they can afford to. Have you heard that Siemens is now out of business? No, it's not out of business. Siemens is still doing well. Siemens is still in business. It just needs to pay this inconvenient 800 million fine, and it goes back to doing the same thing in Vietnam or Suriname or some other unlucky country. So we have a problem in international business, and that problem needs to be admitted. We can't just start studying international business transactions law without realizing that we have a problem, and that problem needs to be admitted, and that the law is not doing enough yet. The reason why this is important is that in the future, you will sit on the board of companies. You will work for companies. I'm most of the times very impressed when I see the progression of my people who have taken this course and who've gone on into the real world to do bigger and better things, and the positions they now hold. You will hold those positions. We need to have a new elite system. We need to have a new elite understanding that business cannot go on as usual. Business going on as usual is why we have global warming. Business going on as usual is why we have people walking across deserts and nearly swimming across seas just to get to Europe, where they have a semblance of a good life. They can have that good life at home if the multinationals there are paying their fair tax, but they're not paying any tax. If worse than that, those companies are just conduits for taking illicit financial flows out of developing countries. Cocoa being taken in millions of tons, oil being taken in millions of uranium, mention it, being taken out of Africa, being taken out of developing countries, little or no tax paid at home, conditions are rife for poverty at home, then people will walk across deserts. They will. They are not stupid. They don't want to die needlessly. They have, Bible says, it's not scientific, I'm not a Christian, but I know that the Bible does say we have 70 plus 10, 70 years on earth. Before you are allowed to walk, you are usually like 21. So, and you're not going to spend all your life working. There's a retirement age by law. People want to live a decent life. They don't want to stay in conditions of poverty, artificially created, and I repeat, artificially created by the wrongdoings of international corporations. How do we stop this? We stop it by fighting and noting and taking seriously those failing parts of international business transaction structures, like the directorship systems of companies, the social solidarity and old school tie networks, the Bilderberg groups, the Davos, Trilateral Commission. Forgive me if I'm beginning to sound a bit like, what's his name again? That gentleman that's always in trouble in the US now. Donald Trump's friend that used to own, anyway, forgive me if I sound a bit like a conspiracy theorist. No, it's not a conspiracy theorist. This is reality. This is what we see. And this is what the law tries to address sometimes, even if not very successfully. See the K review of the UK equities markets and long-term decision-making final reports. See the few things we see in legislation trying to correct these various harms I described. Note that the law itself recognizes we have a problem, hence the law comes up with things like the lifting of the veil. Lifting of the veil is a company law device where tortious and criminal corporations can be traced not only to their individual directorships, but into whatever corporate structure they now have to their ultimate corporate structure, the law allows us to trace a lot of this damage, whether it's tort, whether it's bribery and corruption, or whatever it is. If we need to lift the veil, we will. We also have responses such as the UK Stewardship Code. We need to have a vigilant press. We need to have more honest intellectuals. And that's something that I decry a lot. I have seen intellectuals fail societies. I've seen intellectuals support wars that are needless. I've seen intellectuals support imperialism. I don't know what they get out of it. Maybe some of them are lucky enough to be rich, but I think that's not the role of an intellectual. That's not the role of anyone who has a degree, no matter of whatever description. Your mind has been trained. You should work for good. You should work for progress in society. You should work for international progress. Hence, we also need to have civil society organizations working hard. And I have here a few lists of some of the civil society organizations that I think are doing a good work, a lot of good work in transparency, and so on and so forth. We will conclude on the fact that you will do more reading on your own, that you will follow these slides, which are a bit different from the ones you have on Moodle now. Every single Thursday, after every lecture, you need to check the latest slides, because those slides you have on are relating to last year. But immediately after the lecture, give me 1 or 2 hours to have coffee, lunch. You would have that year's slides to work with over the next few. It wouldn't be radically different from what you have, but yeah, there will be latest influences and so on and so forth. Any questions?
Hi there, sorry, I'm Josh. Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you.
How do we pronounce your name first off?
There are many versions of my name. Most of them are illegal.
And
sorry, can I hear that? I thought the correct version is Benga. Can you try that, Josh?
Yeah, cool. Benga.
No, not cool.
no.
Benga, is it?
Yeah, right.
Good. Okay, go on. What's the question?
Oh, sorry. I had a few questions that I left in the chat just as we were going through the slides, and then I have some more specific ones that I was hoping you could answer for me later. Okay.
Oh, you have them on the slides already?
They were in the chat from the call.
Have I tried to answer a few of them or not?
Okay.
Don't worry at all. We're going to have a seminar on this topic, and your seminars for this week is to watch the video, the film that's recommended in your module outline. Please watch that. At the next seminar, we will be answering questions in your seminar workbook relating to this question, to this lecture we've had now, and the film you would have watched in your seminar hour for this week. And we can take it from there. Our topics are connected. So even if it's in your 6th week, you have a question in relation to this particular topic, feel free to ask it then. All right?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other question?
Are we doing the seminar prep today?
No. Your seminar for today is to watch the film that's in your module outline for that seminar. I think it's the film on banana poison. I don't know the full. Please go to your module outline and you will find it there. You will also find it on Moodle.
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
It's 1 hour, so it takes the time that you would have spent in your seminar today. You need time to think and reflect on what you had today. You need time to think on and reflect on the reading and that film. Then next week we'll play ball.
Sorry, I had one more question just pertaining to your assessment dates. There's 2 different dates on the module outline for the first assessment. They're only different by day, but it's the 16th and the 17th. So I'm wondering which one it will be at the end.
Thank you for being thorough. I will look into that. And not only will it be resolved and corrected on the module outline, but we will look into this more during our first seminar when we will talk a bit about how the course runs.
All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thanks. There's charts, 3 charts. Is the exam going to be in person? So I understand. All exams are going to be in person, I understand, but maybe that will be affected by the nuclear war, I expect, between Russia and the rest of us. I don't know, I can't speak that far in the future. But the general idea is that exams will be in person from now on. Is the exam said they will do it after. Have you done the attendance? Hello? Is everyone there? Hello?
Yeah.
Yes, I have the attendance. I have the attendance, so yeah, you can go if you have to. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, bye, bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Push. Come on, mum. Hey, Boogie.
Out.